Hello. I want to talk about something about India, about Hinduism, that you will not find in books, and very, very few people know this. And if they do know, then you will not find them talking about it on internet. So, okay. If you watch my previous videos or go to my website, learn about four human species where I've specifically talked about four human species. That has a lot to do with India because India is the ancient and first country where all four human races came together with struggles, wars, all the bad things you can imagine. Over time, they mixed with each other. So, India is called a battleground for the whole world since very ancient times, more than 50,000 years. Okay, so we all know India separated from Africa and slowly it came up and mixed with Asia. Right. So, why are Indian people, majority of Indian people, are dark skinned? Here's the reason. From ancient times, more than 100,000 years ago, black people from Africa came to India. Where's the world map? Let me get a world map here. And we can see that how Africa and India are so close to each other. Right? So here we can see from Africa where it says ALAMY, whatever it is. So that's Africa, right? I don't have a pen. Okay, let me screenshot it. And we can see here from Africa, these people came to India. So there are two ways they came to India. They traveled from Africa to India. One was using bamboos like, because bamboos are pretty light wood and they float on water. So they made boats out of bamboos and they came into India. Okay, that's one way they came. Other way was through the land. So they traveled and came into India. Okay. So this was more than 100,000 years ago. In India, black people spread all over India. Okay. So they were, let me get the map of India. just trying to make it easy. So they came into India and they spread all over India. At that time, a long, long time ago, India was a very tropical land. It was filled with forests, trees, rivers, and they used to rain a lot in India often. It was very beautiful back in those days, more than 100,000 years ago. So these people, black people, they spread all over India, even in the Punjab region, even in the Himalayas, they were everywhere. And even now, there are ancient, what do you say, those paintings in the caves that they have discovered in the Himalayas, which say that they're very similar to black people of Africa. So these people they spread in all over India. Not only India. After spreading into India, they also went toward the Southeast Asia. Okay, from Southeast Asia they spread, and we can see black people, black DNA people in Southeast Asia even now. Indonesian regions, Papua New Guinea, Australia, those Polynesia, those regions, Pacific Islands, and from that area they came into Americas more than 50,000 years ago. They entered Americas. Okay, so these people, black people, they had a ancient belief system in which they used to worship their animals. They used to respect their animals, and they would not kill animals just because they wanted to kill them for fun or whatever. They had a very traditional way of killing their animals. Even I'm talking about domestic animals. They would worship their domestic animals pretty much. And even if they would go hunting, they would kill their animals and pretty much worship them, like pray to their soul, to their spirits, to their souls. So over time, they developed this spiritual system that is very old, and they started praying the trees, the where they used to get their fruits and grains and stuff. And so that system also came into India. That old faith system. So at one time in those people, there was a guy named Shankara. He was believed to be the ancient god of Hindus. Who were these Hindus? The black people of India. So Shiva was one of their holy men. He was a real man, a black man, skinny, tall black man, with matted hair. And so he used to travel all over India, just walk around. And he was like wandering man, but he was very spiritual. Somehow these people, black people, learn how to meditate. They used to go in trance. I think they learned this method with the help of fire, or maybe they learned it before they discovered fire, but they would sit near the fire for a long time and they would go in trance. Their third eye started opening, and they started connecting with the living beings or beings or gods of other planets or other outside of Earth. So these people were very spiritual. A lot of people don't know this. They claim that Aryans who came into India started the Hinduism system. In fact, I'm going to talk about the Aryans. Who are the Aryans? See, Aryans are the red people. I've talked about this in my other video, but I will just brief it here. If you go back to world map, so this is Russia, is the top one, Russia. So red people, Caucasian people, Aryan people, see why they're different names, because they lived in different areas. People who lived here, people who lived near this area were also red people. They were called Caucasian because they're Caucasus Mountains here in near north of Armenia. So these people came to be called as Caucasians. People who were living in the Sweden, Norway area, the red people, they spread it there. They were known as Vikings. Then they also spread into Germany, and they were known as Germans. Or Scythians, Caucasians, used to live in that area also. So red people are people who have square face. They have broad body, large body. They were called the giants or Neanderthal species. So they used to live initially. They used to live in these areas right here. So at one time, they used to live even up to North Pole. Even nowadays, their Santa Claus is worshipped in North Pole. That's not a myth, it's a reality. There was a saint of red people when red people used to live near North Pole. So his spirit is still alive, it stays there. He was a red man. So these red people have square face. Sometimes it looks round. They have red hair and blonde, which probably likely blonde became due to the mixture with white people in this area. But initially they had red hair. Even now I've seen a lot of people, Caucasians, who have strong red hair, like dark red hair, light red hair, square faces, big body, muscular. And athleticism, weightlifting, wrestling are their sports. You can see, and people here in this area, you will see a lot of people have interest in wrestling, weightlifting. This was all because of red people. It's their sports. They're big people, giants. So these people, Aryans, they came south into Central Asia, this area, and from there, from Afghanistan area, they entered into India, and they spread into North India. Initially, they were here, Aryans, and black people were already there. So black people had a faith system that was very interesting and unique to the Aryans. Aryans believed they had their own system of faith system. They had their god called Vishnu system, and if you read the Vedas, description of Shiva is very similar to black people, even of today, and description of Vishnu is very similar to red people. They say Vishnu is light skin, beautiful hair, he dresses beautiful clothes, he has jewelry, and he looks very good looking, whereas Shiva is described as one who is pretty much almost naked. He puts ash on his body, his hair is matted hair, jata, etc. So their system of Vishnu system and black people's system of Shiva system united, created Hinduism. I think red people stretched it even more, especially the spirituality part of Hinduism, the meditation, tapasya. They stretched it even more and made it. And plus, with their language, Sanskrit, they wrote, later on, they wrote books. all that stuff. White people came into India later from Europe. This is how white people spread. First, they from Europe they came into Middle East, and then they spread into Central Asia, and because they always follow red people. Wherever red people go, white people follow them because white people think red people are angels, that they're gods. They're very smart, good looking, and all that. White people are not that good looking. They used to have long faces, thin, long nose, skinny body, skinny and tall body. Even now, you can find a lot of people in Middle East and Europe of these features. So that's white DNA. They used to have brown hair, shades of brown. Even now they do. But nowadays, reds and whites are heavily mixed. So white people came also in this area, and from the same route, they also spread into India, and they went all over India. They mixed with those people, and they also adopted this Hinduism. And later on, many divisions came since past 30, 40,000 years or so. But the ancient Hinduism, though, or the ancient faith system of African, we can see more so if we observe people in the villages in South India, western part of India, and these Pacific Islands and this area where black people live, we can see that the Hinduism is still the ancient faith system of Hinduism. We can still see there. And these people came into America, like I said, and they also had similar faith system. So these are some things, a lot of people in India, majority of people, I would say 99% of people in India, as well as all over the world, do not know. There's a lot of books written, media people talk about Aryans, white people have come into India and they eliminated, pretty much erased Aryan system, and they populated in India and they spread their own faiths, and they think they created Hinduism. So everybody took the credit for what was not theirs. And nobody has given the credit to black people. But here I am trying to give the credit to. I think Hinduism is more to do with red people and black people, their unions. So that's modern Hinduism has a lot to do with that. Yellow people used to live in China, and even now we can find in India, this area mostly, a lot of yellow DNA. And we can recognize yellow people in India, even though they're mixed with mostly black people, red people, but we can see their nose and their roundest face and less hair on their body. See, red people have a lot of hair. Red people are the most hairy people, and second most hairy are the white people. Third, the black people have less hair, but their hair are very strong and very thick when it grows. The least hair are among the yellow people, and we can see that in this area mostly a lot of yellow DNA. Mostly red and white DNA have spread all over India. Majority of them is in this area right here. As we go more toward Pakistan, Afghanistan, we can find more red and white DNA and less black DNA there. I guess, I don't know if they push black people away from that regions toward South India or East India, but this is the reality. This is the past that nobody knows, and this credit should be given to black people. Even now, the racism exists all over India toward dark-skinned people, black people. It's very common of white people to have racism over black people. This racism is all over Middle East, North Africa, heavily mixed with white DNA. And nowadays we can find the same in modern worlds. So it's not, racism will never get solved on this planet. People, nowadays the population is what, more than 8 billion. So what's going to happen is World War III. Majority people will die and few will survive and they will live very poorly, and slowly they populate, and same thing is going to happen. The racism going to happen again, maybe after a few thousand years in future. So it's ongoing. It's ongoing because all four human races are always fighting when they, especially when they come together. See, red people invade white people. White people don't like black people. Black people are very peaceful. They struggle. They're hated by everybody. Even though I think yellow people are more friendly toward black people, but inside I've seen some racism, some hatred toward black people in the yellow people. They think they're more superior than black people. Red people are more friendly toward black people. Even though red are naturally superior to everybody, but with black people they're more friendly. They don't try to manipulate them. They don't try to, push them down or abuse them. Sometimes they do, but not as much as white people. They're very verbally abusive, physically abusive toward the blacks. It's a long story. But this is just the general information I wanted to share with few people who watch my videos. Please share, subscribe. My subscription is very low, even though I've been here for 7 years. No idea why. I give very genuine information, very truthful. This is something you will not find anywhere else. But if this knowledge spreads, let's say if this knowledge spreads in India, all over the world, black people will be recognized for their originality, their ancient faith system, what they have taught to the world. Even agriculture was first initiated and was being done by black people. They didn't, initially, they used to dig small holes in the ground and put seeds which they collected from the wild, and they used to grow. Even now, in some part of Africa, even some part of India have the same system of among the black people. They don't plow the whole land to put seeds on the ground, and they use seeds of the lentils, those kind of seeds that they use a lot. I don't know where wheat started from. I think wheat agriculture probably started in Middle East. But even use of animals to do agriculture was initiated by black people from Africa, and it came into India, and then these people started doing it more. So black people have taught world a lot of things, but they haven't gotten the credit for it. And the red people nowadays have lost their identity. People think they're white. So these two things I want in the world. If it can happen, red people get their identity and white people get kicked out of Russia. There are a lot of white people in Russia. They have taken over all over these areas, and they've surrounded China too from all sides. White DNA. I don't know what's their purpose, what they want to do, eliminate everything from this planet, spread white DNA all over. So if red people get their identity back and white people are thrown out of their areas, that will be really nice. So red people can survive. Same with black people. If they can get their credits, their identity, because a lot of white DNA, Middle East, North Africa is filled with white DNA. I mean, India is mixed. India is all four DNA have come together and mixed. This was the first country, first land in the world where all four came mixed. They did everything bad there, everything bad. Misuse of each other's males and females, rapes and forced sex, forced marriages, clever marriages, whatever you can name it. Fight with each other. So many wars in these areas since ancient times. Anyway, that's all I want to share. Thank you for listening. Hari Om.